If you pay close attention to what I'm about to say in today's video, I promise you, this is going to be one of the best mindset videos you'll ever watch. And the reason why I can confidently say that is because after years, and I mean long, hard, treacherous years, where I had to go through a lot of adversity, I had to go through a lot of challenging times in my life, especially in my early 20s. Drinking a lot, suicidal thoughts, depression, life was hard for me back then. And through this journey of self-development, I don't mean just physically, but I also mean mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I found out one key thing that seems to always reign supreme and always just seems to be the corresponding factor when it comes to really shifting somebody's identity and working on their mindset to just give them a better perspective. So if let's say right now you're going through a hard time in your life, you're going through some adversity, maybe it's stress, and who knows, that might be on your health and fitness journey, that might be financially, that might be with your relationships, that might be just mentally. You feel like you lost your self-worth, you feel like you're not good enough. Once again, today's video is really going to enlighten you and help you out. And if you guys are tuning in for the very first time, welcome. My name is Coach Joe. I'm a certified personal trainer, nutritionist, and strength and conditioning coach. But most importantly, I use my online fitness coaching platform just to help our members truly become the best versions of themselves, not just physically, but mentally as well. And when I say fitness, I don't mean just physically, I mean mentally as well, because that is so important. Once again, personally for myself, back when I was 22 years old, physically, I was a beast. Six-pack abs, muscles, I was doing MMA, the whole 9 yards. But mentally and emotionally, I was very weak. And I don't want that to be you. So that's why for today's topic, we're going to be talking all about the story that we tell ourselves and how this is one of the most important mindset shifts that you will ever make in your life. When you truly understand this concept that we're going to go over next, you stop being the victim, right? You stop having that victim mentality. Instead, you're that victor. So instead of you looking at life as everything happening to me, you start looking at life as everything happening for me. And you may be saying to yourself, but Joe, that's so easy for you to say. I'm going through this, and I'm going through this challenge, and this adversity, and life just sucks right now. And guess what? That might be true, but like Steve Jobs, right? Rest in peace, once said. You can't connect the dots looking forward in life. You can always connect the dots, though, looking backwards in life. And there's been plenty of times where, going through the trenches, going through the stress, the adversity, it's hard. You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But this is where you need to have faith. This is where you need to have a strong belief system and understanding that, hey, it's all going to work out at the end of the day. And guess what? It will. But even though you can't see that because you're in the midst of the storm, looking back, it might be a blessing in disguise. Once again, back when I was 22 years old, going through a lot of depression, getting toxic relationships, alcohol, all this stuff, it wasn't fun going through that. But now looking back at it, it's like, hey, I'm really happy that I actually went through those hardships. I'm actually happy that I had to overcome and go through all that stress because it made me such a better person who I am today. To where, once again, back then I was great in physical shape, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I wasn't in great shape. Now here I am today, I'm working on all 4 pillars of essentially my well-being. The physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. Everything can change for somebody's life when they start telling themselves a whole different story. For example, if let's say somebody has a workout to do, they could be telling themselves, oh, I have to do this workout. Well, guess what? That's the wrong mentality to have. That's more of a victim mentality. It's like you're treating a workout as almost like a chore. Nobody likes to do chores. I bet you anything, there's people that maybe they don't have legs, maybe they don't have arms, and they would love the capability to work out like you, but you are taken for granted, right? Working out and training your physical body. Now, what's a better mindset to have? Instead of telling ourselves, oh, I have to work out, we can now switch that story and say, hey, I get to work out today. So now instead of you waking up and saying, oh, I have to work out, treating it like a chore, you wake up and say, hey, I get to work out today. It's such a small, little, minor shift in terms of the story that we tell ourselves, but guess what? It has a huge compound effect. And just like anything when it comes to working on your mindset, it's a practice. It's going to take some time before you adapt and get used to it. But sure enough, once again, this is one of the best things that you can ever do to change your entire life, is by just changing the story that we tell ourselves. Instead of being the victim, you're more of the victor. And guess what? The more you practice this, you are going to gain such self-confidence within yourself. Everything is going to change for you. And also, you're not going to worry about the opinions or the thoughts or the words of others because who cares? That's just how they perceive you, but how you perceive yourself because the story that you've been telling yourself, that's what truly matters the most. And that's what's going to formulate a new belief system within yourself. Point blank example, think about Roger Bannister. He was the first person ever to run a mile in underneath 4 minutes. Nobody thought it was possible. Even the doctors thought that the human heart would explode if anybody was able to run a mile in underneath 4 minutes. Now, Roger Bannister, he didn't listen to the opinions of others. He didn't listen to those doctors. Why? Because the story that he told himself was, I can do this. It's possible. Did he get it on his first attempt? No. He tried and tried and tried and tried. And eventually, he got it. Eventually, he became the first person ever to run a mile in underneath 4 minutes, proving everybody, even the doctors, completely wrong. But guess what? The story that he told himself, that he can do this, right? He didn't want to listen to the opinions of others. That shifted, right? And also broke so many self-limiting beliefs in others. Because since he was able to do that and prove that it was actually possible, there's been hundreds of other people now that have been able to complete a mile in underneath 4 minutes. And it's all because of the story that he told himself. So what is the story that you continue to tell yourself? Another great example is when guys sign up for our coaching program and let's say they suffer with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or type 2 diabetes. They think it's all genetics. Well, guess what, right? Genetics is only about 20 to 30%. That's it. Like 20 to 30%. That means 70 to 80% balls in your court, champ, right? So that means you can't continue to point the finger at somebody else or something as to why you suffer with all these medications and you're out of shape, right? Because every time you point the finger and make up excuses, you have 3 fingers pointing right back at you. So when guys sign up for our coaching program and they're like, oh, I've been on medications, for the past 15, 20 years, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, like it's hereditary. I'm like, bro, it's not. It's just that you don't know how to eat properly. You don't know how to train properly for your body type. You don't know how to create better habits for your lifestyle that are sustainable. Like, here's 100 case studies of guys that have completely got off their medications, who have once told themselves the same story that you continue to tell yourself. That, hey, it's hereditary. It's all genetics. But what happens when you flip the switch? What happens when you can start seeing case studies and testimonials of, oh man, these guys were able to get off their medications, and they didn't have to follow some crazy diet or do backflips and burpees. They were actually doing it in a way that was sustainable. Oh wow, I can probably do that as well. And that's what happens. These guys join our coaching program, they get off their medications, they lower their A1C levels, and it's simply because, hey, we give them an outlet for them not only to have a personalized plan for them to follow with their health and fitness journey, but also changing their mindset by just holding them accountable, working with them and helping them just, hey, how can you become the best version of yourself? And guess what? That starts with us telling ourselves a different story. One of the best stories that I like to personally remind myself whenever I need help when it comes to just shifting my belief system and changing the story that I tell myself is of Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, the GOAT. Well, guess what? Was he always like that? Absolutely not. In fact, he got cut from his high school basketball team. So just imagine that, right? Everybody knows MJ, right? 23, Chicago Bulls, right? Like, everybody knows who he is, right? International celebrity, everybody. But did you know that he actually got cut from his high school basketball team? He didn't make the team, But what was the story that MJ told himself? He could have got cut from his team and just say, you know what? I'm just going to go play baseball, or I'm just going to go work a 9 to 5, or, do something else in my life. No. He told himself, despite the adversity, despite the challenges, despite him being cut from his high school basketball team, hey, I'm going to practice. I'm not going to give up. Just like Roger Bannister, right? Like, he didn't run a 4-minute mile his very first attempt. No. He had to practice. He had to continue to try and try and try and try. And I feel like in today's society, right, we as men, right, like when we don't get the things that we want immediately, we just give up. We don't have enough grit. We don't have enough skin in the game to say, you know what, I'm going to persevere. And we don't build up enough, habits and character traits within ourselves to say, hey, we're going to continue to try and continue to try and continue to try until we get it down. Like with MJ, for example, hey, guess what? He practiced. He put his blood, sweat, tears into learning the game of basketball and working on his craft and working on his skills to become better And that's what made him one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Just imagine you, whatever your goals are. Maybe you want to get off your medications. Maybe you want to get six-pack abs. Maybe you want to be able to do pull-ups and, push-ups and run sprints with your kids. I don't know. Whatever your goals are. Just imagine if you don't give up. Just imagine despite the adversity, you just never gave up. And guess what? What is always going to be the fuel source for that? It's not going to be motivation, because motivation runs off just highs and lows, right? You want to feel motivated? Go on YouTube and type in a motivational video. You can watch it for 5 minutes and instantly feel motivated. But does that last? Absolutely not. Discipline lasts. Now, how do we build upon that discipline? It all starts with the story that we tell ourselves. Just like how in the very beginning of this video, I mentioned, hey, you could look at life from two different perspectives. You can say, hey, why is everything happening to me? Or why is everything happening for me, right? To me is victim. For me is victor, right? I can look at my workouts as, hey, I have to do this. It's a chore. Or I get to do this. It's an opportunity for me to build upon and get better. Just like how failure, right? First act in learning. Failing is a stepping stone to success. But most individuals, they don't look at it that way. Right? They see themselves as failing at something and then they just give up. They don't understand that, hey, when you persevere, when you overcome those challenges, eventually, hey, those challenges aren't there anymore because you become stronger mentally. You become physically a beast. You become emotionally just hungry for change, right? And you're on this path to greatness. And this is why I love helping out our members at Heartletics. Just, it's not always about nutrition. It's not always about working out. What matters the most, it's the baseline, it's the foundation, is your mindset. And one key thing here to help you grow and develop a stronger mindset is start changing the story that you tell yourselves. I really hope that you guys got a lot of value from today's episode. If you did, definitely give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below letting me know your biggest takeaway. And if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate that if you did. As always, guys, this has been Coach Joe with Heartletics.com, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Peace out, Girl Scouts.